This week's challenge is going to go fast, so buckle in and let's write. This video, we're going to be doing another one-day story challenge, which means we're going to be writing a 3-sentence story. And I love these 3-sentence stories. They're fast, they're fun. They give me ideas for longer stories that I can do. And I really love that creation process, to be coming up with ideas that could be fun to share with other people. Now, originally, I had thought about doing something that might be more memoir related. I have an image that I use in my presentations when I do teach about writing memoirs. But then I worked on some YouTube shorts and some videos on learning. And when I went to bed, I had all these crazy ideas of a YouTube short to create. And then that left me with a different idea on what we're going to do. And this is going to be fast. This one's going to be a very fast challenge. And so that's the theme, fast, which I think is kind of funny because 3-sentence stories already are fast. And then we're going to make them even faster by writing about being fast. So yeah, that should be really entertaining. Last week, I chose to write science fiction. so this is the pre-writing stage. So we have a theme, which is fast. And now I want to pick a genre to write. And I want to pick pay attention to what kind of an audience I'm going to write for. And that will help me decide how that story is going to go. So last week was science fiction for me, leprechauns in space. I think this week I'm going to start with horror. Not start with horror. I think I'm going to go horror. So fast is the theme, horror, and I don't write horror for young audiences, so this will be for an adult audience. Now, those are my parameters I'm going to work with as I move forward with the challenge. Just an interesting side note, I did start my writing career with horror. My first couple of sales were horror in a science fiction horror story. And that is where I started. I don't write as much now, so it'll be kind of fun to go back to my roots and explore this genre again. Okay, so also for part of the pre-writing, I'm going to pretend that this is part of a longer effort on my part, that I'm not writing a 3-sentence story, that what I really intend to do is write a complete short story. And so I've done some research on the horror market and what publishers are looking for submissions from horror stories. And I'm going to go ahead and share those with you now, because a lot of times when I am deciding I want to write, I do look for that market in case I want to sell it. Now, obviously, if you're just writing for your own gratification, that's fine. It wouldn't hurt, though, to do a little research, find a market, and then pretend that you're going to be writing for that publication in hopes that they'll pick it up and that they'll pay you for it. I found 3 publishers that were looking for horror stories, and here's the information that I got from them. The first publisher is Kangas Khan. They are looking for their story. They didn't ask for a specified length, but generally most markets, if they're talking short stories, want something between 1,500 and 5,000 words, or 1,500 and 4,500 words. So just assume that that's there. The pay rate is 8 cents a word, and that is professional pay rate. So if you're into science fiction and you get 3 stories published at that rate, you can be member of the Science Fiction Writers Association, if that's something that interests you. All right, so they are looking for Halloween stories. The next one is the Hungry Shadow Press, and they are looking for a stories between 1,500 and 4,000 words. Their pay rate is 3 cents a word, which still isn't bad, and they are looking for their theme of the first 5 minutes of the apocalypse. Oh, that's just my kind of story. All right, and then the third one I'm going to mention is Solar Punk magazine. They are looking for stories between 1,500 and 7,500 words. And their pay rate is also 8 cents a word, pro rate. And they are looking for solar punk stories. And I'm not familiar with that genre. And this isn't something that I would be specifically wanting to pick up and write for, but I included it in my list because the thing is, if I'm wanting to write horror, I could write a solar punk horror story, and I think that they would be all right with that. So sometimes you can find calls for submissions. That's what this is a submission call. And you can apply your genre to that if they're compatible. And I think in this case, it would. I mean, you would want to read their guidelines and make sure that your brand of horror is going to fit. But otherwise, you could still write a horror and fulfill that submission call. Okay, so since I'm pretending that this is going to be part of a longer story, I'm going to decide to submit it to the first 5 minutes of the apocalypse. And so my story is going to be shaped by that. So obviously it's going to be a story about something that happens within the first 5 minutes of the apocalypse. Okay, the beginning of the story, we talked about this last week, is all about the setting. And that generally you can answer or include the 5 W's. Who, where, when, what, and why. Now, and as I explained last time, this is a tiny story, so really we are going to have difficulty doing a sentence that has all 5 of those, so I suggest picking 2. Last time I picked who and what. I struggled to find a where because it just wasn't working for me, but this time I'm going to go with who and where. With that in mind, I'm ready to write. Here's some an image and some mood music to help the process. Okay, ready? Go. The theme is fast. The publication wants the first 5 minutes of the apocalypse. And since this is horror, I want to include characters who are vulnerable. That way my audience squirms as they read the story. Okay, and I know this is a tiny story, so they're not really going to do a lot of squirming, but in a longer story, I could definitely get them to a point where they were feeling uneasy, which is the point and purpose of horror. Oh, I got it. Children. And not as the main character. I want children as a part of it, probably as the target of the horror, and someone else wanting to act to be able to help them. I mean, that's where true horror comes in, is trying everything you can and nothing works. And then this would give us a goal and a target that we can understand and empathize with. My main character, the who of the story, is going to be a teacher. The where is a school playground. I even have the when. Without overly complicating this story, I can include that when, and it's going to be the moments after the nuclear explosion. Stop the music. Here is my first sentence. Mrs. Goodhart watched over the children playing when an atomic bomb destroyed the downtown area. Beautiful. I love it already. I mean, this is my genre. This is what I love. And we got that imminent doom coming. So even from the first sentence, we know something tense is about to happen, which is exactly what you want for horror. You want there to be a feel of impending doom and maybe the possibility that there's no way to escape it. All right, so what did you come up with your first line? I'd like to hear it. If you would, post it in the comments section. I'm going to post mine, and I welcome feedback from anyone, what you think about my first sentence. And I would love to be able to make some commentary on your first sentence as well. That's it for this video. Until next time, later.